you're all very welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Matt Hurley. And today we're going to discuss the league finals in Croke Park at the weekend. Some very exciting action in store at the weekend. Of course, there's Division 2A in the hurling as well, but we won't discuss that in detail. This podcast, obviously, I posted stats on Offaly and Kildare on my Instagram and my Twitter. So if you want to check those out, do so. But we're focusing on the football specifically in this episode. And I'm delighted to be joined once again by Seamus Brady of the Play On GA podcast, just to discuss the weekend's game. So, Seamus, bit of a different setting today. So, how are all things in DCU?
Yeah, no, everything's good. College assignment season has come round, so yeah, that's pretty much 9 to 5. What I'm doing now with the GA is definitely providing me with a definite, needed break from college work, and I'm definitely looking forward to chatting about these games. I was at the Dublin Loud one there in Croke Park. Me and yourself were on Aaron's live stream. That was good crack to be at as well, and definitely looking forward to the league finals on the weekend. Should be a good watch.
Should be a good watch, yeah. And if you haven't watched that live stream with Aaron, I'd recommend that the listeners and the watchers will watch that episode. It's very good. Like you were keeping an eye loud in Dublin, I was keeping an eye on Tyrone and Armagh. It almost was like a feel of a final score. You know, that BBC show where all the soccer the people were just looking
Sunday
at
sport.
games.
It had a vibe of that going stadium to stadium.
Yeah, brilliant crack. And a bit of a question before we get into the games: are you going to the Dublin game this weekend?
Potentially. I have to see how I'm set for tickets and how I'm set for time. But if I can make it, I'll go. I feel like we really need to up our performance. Obviously, we're going to get into the preview of that game as we get further on. But I'd love to get a chance to go and support the lads, because it's going to be one hell of a task against a Derry side that had our number the last day.
Exactly. So, and we will discuss Dublin and Derry in due course. But firstly, we're going to go in chronological order. So we're going to discuss, first of all, Wicklow against Sligo. All these games, by the way, all the 4 finals are live at TG Car. So just in case the listeners and the viewers don't realise that, there you go. It's live in Croke Park, TG Car at 5 o'clock. So great exposure for these two sides. And when you look at these two sides' form, they definitely deserve to be in the final. 1 loss each. I think Wicklow have drawn 2 games. They've won 4, while Sligo have won 6 games. So both sides are going in with decent form.
Yeah, and what has really impressed me about both these sides is they both recovered from bumps in the road really, really impressively. Like Sligo got beaten fairly handily on the first day against Laois. Laois went away to Markievicz Park, beat them by 6 points, and I tipped Sligo to obviously top the division at the start. But I have to say, when I saw Laois beat them by 6, I was thinking, Laois are going to run away with this division now. Like, Laois have gone away and beaten the best team in the division by 6 points. But the way Sligo recovered from that, and they just ground out victories. They went down to Auckland, actually, which is, pretty vital when you're looking at the, preview for this game. They went away to Wicklow and beat them. They went away to Leitrim and beat them. And like, they've clutched up in big games and big moments, and they've gotten the victory when they needed to. And then on the other hand, like, their forwards are looking really, really good. Patrick O'Connor at full forward, 4 points from play last time out against Leitrim. That's very impressive. You've obviously got the likes of Sean Carabine, Pat Spillane, Niall Murphy. You got a very, very, very strong Sligo side there. And they've developed really nicely under Tony McEntee, very strong kicking game. Whereas you have Wicklow, on the other hand, have also really impressed me the way that they bounced back. Because let's not forget, like, Wicklow didn't start impressively at all. They drew to Carlow, and that was in a game where they made, rookie mistakes. Like, you think about how Carlow got their goal. It was one of the easiest goals you'll ever see scored. 2-10 apiece in that game. And then they go in. The first game they won in the league was London. And then they followed the London game up with really, really impressive victories. And as I said, when I talked about clutching up in big moments, that is also very applicable to this Wicklow side. You think that in the 2 biggest games of their whole league campaign so far, they went away to Laois and beat them. And then when the game was looking like it was slipping away from them against Leitrim, they clutch up in added time. I think they hit something like the last 5 points or last 6 points of the game and steal the game away from Leitrim. So when it's been really down to the wire, both these sides have impressed me with the character and the mettle that they've shown.
Exactly. So, and we'll discuss Sligo in detail first. Like, you look at their run, as Seamus articulated there. Bad start against Laois, then they beat Wicklow, Waterford, London all in a row. Wexford, despite conceding 3 goals in that game, Carlow and Leitrim, obviously, the last day, where Leitrim were definitely in the game and they could have easily won it. But Sligo, that bounce back ability, to decide to get back into it. And they've averaged a score of 114 per game, conceded 110. Top scorer being Sean Carbine, obviously, with 130. Doyle Murphy with 118. Pat Spillane with 210 from play for midfield, which is outstanding. So definitely following in his father's footsteps. Patrick O'Connor, 111. David Quinn, 7 points. There's a plethora of players there. Luke Towie, Alan Riley, Finian Cawley, Dara Cummins, Mikey Gordon. They're all chipping in for Sligo. And overall, I think they have a total of 80 different scores. So that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. And on top of that, we haven't touched on how solid they've actually been at the back in the majority of the games. Look, I know that they had a slip up against Wexford, conceded 3 goals, but looking through your fixtures here, no goal conceded against Wicklow, no goal conceded against Waterford, London, or Carlow. And those are sides that do have good forwards. You look at like Carlow, have got the likes of Dara Foley, Connor Crowley. But you would look at it and say, then on the flip side for Wicklow are looking pretty strong going forward. Look, I know Wicklow didn't score a goal against them, but you look at the form of the likes of Owen Darcy in particular. Like, he was a minor all-star, someone that everybody was watching coming through for Wicklow, and it was just a question of how do you manage him being brought into the team. And I think they've actually managed it really, really well, because they didn't rush him in. They didn't put him a full forward, stick the jersey on him and say, you're our main man. They kind of let him grow into the team, and now it really seems like he's starting to peak here. Like, if you look at his form in the league campaign, 225 scored, leading the way for Wicklow. Like, it's not even close. Like, the next top scorer for them is Mark Jackson with 14 points. Like, Owen Darcy has been carrying the can in the forward line, and you wonder, Oisin McConville is definitely having a lot of one-on-one time with Owen Darcy, and definitely is, bringing the best out of him.
It definitely is. And the rest of the scores there, you have Dean Healy, who's very consistent over the past few seasons with 111. Kevin Quinn, I think he scored a hat-trick against Laois last season in the championship.
Yeah.
He's kicked on his form, scoring 110 from playing this championship as well, or this league campaign. Podge O'Toole's been excellent. Andy Marr, very good. And to want to notice a bit of a weird statistic with Wicklow as well, 3 of their players have only scored just a goal, in Owen Murtagh, JP Hurley, and Jack Clearwan. So, like, they are goal getters in that team. They have 9 goals in the league campaign, including 2 against Wexford, Waterford, and Carlow, and Laois as well. So that's 4 games where they could score 2 goals. So do you think that could be an aspect where Wicklow and Oisin McConville could target Sligo, and Sligo themselves have conceded 7 goals, which is exactly a goal a game. So Wicklow could fancy their chance to hit the back of the net.
And that was my point when I was saying that while Sligo have looked good at the back in multiple games, Wicklow are goal getters. And I know that Wicklow didn't score a goal in Ockram against Sligo, which definitely will be something that they will remember. But I feel like out in Croke Park, big open pitch, Sligo won't play defensively. Wicklow will get their chances. And I feel like, look, the one thing that Sligo have done pretty well since McEntee's come in is they rack up a huge amount of points in every game that they play. Like this, so far in the league campaign, they've scored 105 points, and Wicklow have only scored 86. So in my mind, there's no way Wicklow are going to go to Croke Park and outpoint Sligo. But will they outgoal them? Potentially. And they're going to need to score I think Wicklow need to score at least 2 goals to beat Sligo in this final, because they're not going to outpoint Sligo. Sligo are going to hit at least 15 up points, whereas I can't guarantee the same thing for Wicklow. So in my opinion, they need to score at least 2 goals, probably 3, to definitely win this game, because Sligo will hit a lot of points in this game. Carabine is always good for a few. Pat Spillane's always good for a few. Patrick O'Connor is always good for a few. So you know that they're going to hit that. Wicklow need to hit the back of the net at least twice, in my opinion.
They definitely do. And when you look at the Croke Park experience as well, would that sway to the Sligo's favour? Because let's not forget, Sligo played in Croke Park in the Tattoo Cup semi-final against Cavan last year. I'm actually not sure when was the last time Wicklow played in Croke Park. So it'll be great exposure for them. Brilliant for their fans travelling up and league final weekend. But do you think Sligo, that'll push them over the line slightly, that they have the experience to play in Croke Park and know what it takes to play there?
Yeah, I think it definitely would help, as a Tony McEntee side. And when they played in Croke Park last time, they played against better opposition, like they played against Cavan. And and they put in a good fight. And the other thing as well, they carved a lot of chances out against Cavan in that game. If you remember, their finishing wasn't as good as it probably should have been, but they carved out a lot of chances for themselves. I think if you were to look at this game and say who has the more experience in Croke Park, you're right. It's definitely Sligo. I think off the top of my head, now this is completely guesswork, but Wicklow did get promoted from Division 4 a couple of years ago. They would have had that final in Division 4. Would that have been the last time they played in Croke Park? Probably.
I don't think that went ahead because of COVID.
Oh, because all right, yeah. But yeah, but then God knows when the last time they played, because I know Dublin played them, but the last time Dublin played them, they went down to play Wicklow away from home. So it probably has been a long time since Wicklow played in Croke Park.
Yeah, maybe even the Michael Dwyer days probably, because I can't really remember Wicklow playing.
There was probably a Leinster quarter final or something against Dublin thrown in there, but like off the top of my head, like the last few championship seasons, they've played away from Croke Park.
Exactly, yeah. I think Dublin have played away from Croke Park, I think since 15 or 16. I think you usually get confused because of the team's colour, Longford and Wicklow. I'm sure Dublin played Longford in Croke Park plenty of times.
They did. Yeah, no, I think one of the key things, but when we're talking about Croke Park experiences, what we've put together basically is it's very likely that Owen Darcy has never really played in Croke Park, and he's been their key score getter in the entire league campaign so far. And Croke Park, it's a different pitch. It's not just another pitch. It's the pitch. And like for people that don't necessarily get to play in Croke Park, it would be maybe take 10, 15 minutes to get into the game. You'd need to get into the zone pretty quickly because Sligo will hit the ground running. And I feel like if Sligo get out 6 or 7 points ahead, this game is done because they've been pretty professional at closing games out in the league campaign so far. And then, yeah, I don't know. I feel like, again, as I said, just goals for Wicklow. They need goals big time. And it'll be interesting to see what kind of strategy McConville goes with. Like, will he park the bus and try and push Sligo back out to a distance where they're not going to, score from? Because I imagine that Sligo, big open pitch in Croke Park, they're going to love that for their style, their kicking game. But yeah, I'll be interested to see how McConville tackles this because I do think they're going into this game as the underdogs.
Definitely are, and when you look at the two managers as well, Armagh men, they might be, auditioning for the Armagh job, give Kieran McGeady the pressure he's under. But a final prediction for this game, do you think Sligo will have enough due to experience, or will Wicklow outgoal them, as you said?
I'm going Sligo. I think Wicklow will get 2 goals. I think Wicklow will get 2 goals, but I think Sligo win by 3 points. That's what I'm going with. I think Sligo they keep the scoreboard ticking over even when they're not playing particularly well. And the fact that Sligo I know GA Matt doesn't add up, but the fact that Sligo went away to Auckland and beat them in their own back garden, that tells me that Sligo are just a little bit ahead of Wicklow right now. But considering it's Oisin McConville's first year in the job, he's absolutely smashed it out the park, getting promoted first time of asking.
Yeah, and it's absolutely brilliant that both sides have got promoted as well. And just the final point that my prediction is Sligo will win the game by maybe 3-4 points or something like that. I think Wicklow will score a lot of goals, but Sligo will definitely outpoint it because of their point scoring expertise. But just a general point of this, I actually have a Sligo and a Wicklow jersey, and I probably will wear one in one half and one in the second half or something.
Depending on who's winning.
Exactly, yeah. Exactly. They're two beautiful
Have a black
jerseys.
t-shirt on for the first 10 minutes, and then put the jersey on if whoever's winning.
Exactly, yeah. They're two beautiful jerseys to be here. I think they're 2018 jerseys. So, so that was a goal to your jerseys, definitely. So, we'll put the boat on during the course of the game anyway and see how it goes. The next game is obviously the Division 3 final on 7:15, the same day in Croke Park on the Saturday on TG4. Fermanagh against Cavan, 2 Ulster rivals. Fermanagh seem to have the upper hand on Cavan when you look at the last few games in general between the two sides. Like, I remember covering a game, I think in 2021 after COVID, and Fermanagh beat them then in Fermanagh, and then Cavan lost again in 2023 in the league. So, like, despite the fact that Cavan might be the better team, Fermanagh seem to have the upper hand on Fermanagh, interesting enough.
Yeah, I mean, you think about going back the last couple of years, they beat them in 2021 with Ryan McMenamin as their manager. And then in a game where it would have been crucial to decide if Fermanagh went up, they went and they beat Cavan. And it was in a game where Cavan were in the driving seat right up until like the last 15 minutes. Like Cavan got two very, very lucky goals. One of them, Jonathan McCabe, literally a shot came back off the post. He just put up his fist, boxing into the net. The second goal came from McCabe taking a shot for a point drop short. Killian Clark slapped it into the net. So for Fermanagh, it would have been very easy to kind of poor me attitude about the game, and it's not happening for us. But one man that really, really impressed me in this game, and his form is absolutely through the roof, Ulton Cowan. Just an absolute world beater in this game. Fantastic goal. Not only that, he nearly got another one, brilliant shot, but his shot for the goal was fantastic. He's scored 212 over the league campaign for Fermanagh. He's been played everywhere in the team. He's been played at centre back, he's been played at midfield, half forward, full forward. Like he's literally played everywhere for this Fermanagh team. I think he's an absolute star for them. Like I think his form has been brilliant. He's crucial to this game. They need an absolute performance out of him.
Yeah, exactly. So, and when you look at their scoring stats in particular, for Man and Cavan, as you mentioned, Ulster came with 212 there. And it seems like Cavan seem to be scoring more. Maybe that's for earlier on in the league. They've averaged score of 116 per game, conceded 1-9. When you look at Fermanagh, they've averaged a score of 113 per game, conceded 2-8. Like that's the point with Fermanagh that is interesting enough. They've conceded 11 goals in 7 games. Do you think that's a bit of a worry for Fermanagh? I know Alton Kelman and Sean Quigley are doing well, and Ryan Lyons and fairness as well. But 11 goals conceded, that's a bit, for a team that's promoted, that's a bit too much, don't you think?
For sure. That's way too much. And the worrying thing as well is you look at who they've got this year. They have pretty much everyone available to them. They have Shay Cullen back in, who is, Shay Cullen has always stuck in my head because remember the year where Fermanagh beat Monaghan with that late Ryan Jones goal? Like, Shay Cullen marked Conor McManus in that game, and that was peak Conor McManus, and he did such a good job on him. He just took McManus out of the game for long periods of it. He's back in the team. Lee Cullen is there. Josh Largo Ellis is there. Like, they have a very, very strong defense on paper, yet they're conceding 11 goals. It's like it doesn't really make sense to me. Then you look at Cavan on the other hand, like Paddy Lynch by himself has scored 3 goals. So you'd wonder here, is this going to be a problem when you get to Croke Park? And Paddy Lynch as well is crucial because he's a real confidence player. Once Paddy Lynch is on it, like he's a problem for any defence in the country. If he gets going in the first 10 minutes, it's a big, big worry for Fermanagh. I feel like Cavan are almost like a default favourite in this, that you would look at it and say, right, Cavan should be winning the Division 3 title. When you look a little bit closer, like as we said at the start of the preview of this segment, like Fermanagh have beaten them. Like it beat them in 2021, beat them this year. Like they're not afraid of Cavan in the slightest. And actually, I seen a post there, Darren McGurn, obviously a Fermanagh player. Like I think he posted something that was, talking about looking forward to playing in Croke Park, but he mentioned like looking forward to picking up some silverware in Croke Park. Like they backed themselves in this game. Like they fully believe they're going to win, and why wouldn't they?
Yeah, exactly. Like the confidence that Fermanagh have got, and that spread through Kieran Donnelly as well. Like great schools coach, great coach with Scottstown, and eventually, like last year, a lot of people were doubting Fermanagh, but I said it in multiple podcasts. I thought Kieran Donnelly was an excellent coach, and it will take time for him to implement his style. And when you look at Armagh scores in general, it's usually the case that Sean Quigley is the dominating scorer for Fermanagh. When you look at him this year, he's scored only 3 goals for play, albeit 2 crucial goals, one against Down and one against Antrim, which got them out of jail to win the games. Also came, as we mentioned earlier, Ryan Lyons with 12 points, Aidan Breed 8, McGord with 11, Ryan Jones with 7 points. They're scoring from really all over the field. Josh Largo Ellis as well, and Shane McGollion from Derry Gondy Harps, of course, a part of that brilliant club side as well. So they have some very good players. And this is without Conor Love as well, who was probably the most informed forward in the Fermanagh Club Championship.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. I was saying that Conor Love was one that I was really looking forward to seeing take part in this league because I was so impressed with him in the club championship. I was, absolutely buzzing to see how he would get on in the league. But obviously, everything doesn't happen the way you want it to. He hasn't played any game, but still for Fermanagh's forward line to be firing like it is, like it's a weird one. They've, as you mentioned, they've conceded 11 goals, but they've scored 8 goals and 90 points. Like pretty much, They have also, returned it. They've at least scored a goal every game that they played in. So for Fermanagh, a team that in our minds are kind of stuck as a defensive side because they were under Rory Gallagher. They're scoring a lot as well.
They are, and when you look at the goal scoring there, 2 goals against Down, 2 goals against Antrim, 2 goals against Tipperary. That was it 3 games in a row. So they're definitely goal getters in the team. But when you look at Cavan, they've only conceded 5 goals on the flip side. 1 against Westmeath, 1 against Tip, 1 against Down, 1 against Antrim, 1 against Fermanagh. So they don't seem to be conceding that much goals. But is it fair to say that Cavan really did their donkey work at the start of the league campaign? When you look, their first 5 wins were pretty comfortable, to be honest with you. And then they lost to Antrim. Oh, there's a mistake there. My image there. It should actually be 117 Antrim to 212 to Cavan, but we will fix that in due course. But
don't comment on it now.
Exactly. Yeah. I'll have to comment on this after we record this. But 114 conceded against Fermanagh as well. So losing the last 2 games, this is a worry for Fermanagh, really. Like if they lose this game, that's 3 losses in a row.
Yeah, definitely. And I completely agree that they did their donkey's work at the start. And it's very clear. People were talking, saying, oh, Cavan, back-to-back defeats. They took their foot off the gas. Like they did. They knew they were promoted. But then again, it is difficult to just pick it back up. You do wonder, like, is that form kind of gone? Is that form of 5 wins in a row? Is that kind of gone? Whereas you look at Fermanagh, like in the results that they have had, like they've been on a roll in Division 3. Like they've, come in relatively under the radar as such. Like a lot of people haven't like since they lost to Offaly, then they have turned it around and come all the way back, beaten Down, beaten Antrim, beaten Tipperary, beaten Westmeath, beaten Cavan, all in a row. Like that's hugely impressive, and they've somehow managed to stay under the radar. So if you're saying who's coming into this game with momentum, definitely Fermanagh.
Exactly, and they're 2 Ulster rivals as well. So would you expect a few brawls in Croke Park, or will it be sightly?
I don't think it's that deep between Cavan and Fermanagh. I think maybe if it was Tyrone Armagh, or if it was Cavan Monaghan, or if it was Donegal Tyrone, I feel like maybe we'd see something. I feel like Cavan Fermanagh has there been much incident between Cavan and Fermanagh over the last few years?
They're small, but I think Cavan got a red card in the game in 2021, or at the end of the first half.
Sure, it only takes one game. It only takes one game for stuff to explode.
Exactly. Sure, you see the Cork and Kilkenny game last Sunday.
Yeah, there you go. Like that's all that you need to happen. Like Meath and Cork weren't rivals for years, but then all of a sudden they were both really, really good towards the end of the 80s, and then bang, like you have a good old rivalry there between those two. So I feel like Cavan and Fermanagh will be seeing a lot of each other over the next couple of years. Like they're getting promoted together. You can imagine maybe they'll be in the mid pack there in Division 2 next season, so they'll both be eyeing up each other next year as a league game. They can win. They'll both be seeing a lot of each other, and familiarity breeds contempt, as they say. So we might see 1 or 2 things happen.
They will see a lot of each other, definitely. And when you look at the Ulster, actually, Fermanagh are going to play Derry. We'll get on to Derry in a minute, but that's going to be a very tough ask. Cavan, there's a potential to get to the Ulster final. They're going to play Armagh, possibly then Down in the semi-finals, who they've beaten before in the league. So, like, that's going to be still a difficult aspect, but Cavan could get past them. But let's say neither of them reach the Ulster final. Both of them will be in the Tailteann Cup. Before we get a prediction going in this game, do you fancy any of them to win the Tailteann Cup, possibly?
Yes, definitely contenders. My way early favourites would be Clare. Way early. If they don't make it to the Munster final, my way early favourites would be Clare because of the forwards that they have: Emma McMahon, Gavin Cooney, Keelan Sexton, Owen Cleary, and just how used they are to playing at the highest level. But definitely these two would be right in there with contention.
And a prediction on this game, do you think it'll be Fermanagh to beat them for the 3rd time in a row, or Cavan gain revenge?
It's actually a really, really hard one to call. Like, it's really, really difficult to call this one. I am going to go with Cavan by 2.
Interesting. To make it the podcast a bit interesting, I'm going to go differently. I'm going to go Fermanagh by a point. It's going to go either way. It
could go either way. It really could.
It's going to be a
But
very
I just
exciting
feel like
game.
Cavan will want revenge.
Yeah, they definitely want revenge. All right, it's definitely going to be a tight game. I
But
just
sure, the last time Cavan played a final in Croke Park, they lost it and they were favourites.
exactly, and that was with Thomas Gallagher in the team, and now he's gone. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm telling you, like, I'm gonna go for Fermanagh, but I think Cavan will cover this as a glory this game. Like, it'll be for that, it'll be an incredible game of football. And we move on to Sunday's finals in Division 1 and 2, and Derry against Dublin's the first one at 2 o'clock in Croke Park. I think it's at 2 anyway, off the top of my head. But on a TG car, this is an intriguing game because earlier on in Celtic Park, it kind of had the feel of a championship game that time when Dublin went ahead at half time, and then Niall Turner gets that goal. The Derry crowd went up. Brendan Rodgers scores the winning point. Derry win the game. So, and when you look at Dublin, they improved in match day 6, particularly against Meath. So, is there going to be an improvement coming from Dublin against Derry?
Hopefully, because well, like realistically, all we need to do is do what we did in the first half, in both halves. And we in the first half, I was watching the Derry game. I was thinking, we're having this so easy. Derry, not only that, but Derry were missing chances that were so uncharacteristic from them. Shane McGuigan hit a few wides. I remember the worst one where I was like, oh my God, what is going on? Was Niall Tona had a free from just outside the 21 and he did the weirdest run up I've ever seen and then kicked the ball wide. And I was like, what is going on with Derry? Why are they just folding? And in the second half, Dublin folded. The second Derry got that goal back, I just, particularly in the last minute, when Derry were on the attack before Brendan Rodgers got his point, and I know that you can't really explain like feelings and you can't really explain when you just kind of have a hunch that something is going to happen. But like when Derry were coming up in that last play, like I just knew they were going to score. Like I knew they were going to get the ball to the right player and get the shot off. And the second Brendan Rodgers started running, I was like, okay, here we go. Like he's definitely going to score this one. Because Derry have something special about them right now. They have this air that they can go and, take on anyone. However, they've had the wind knocked out of their sails a little bit by Cork. So appreciate that one out of the hills. But like that was a fantastic comeback by the Rebels. And again, Maguire's like, oh, considering the fact that like Derry had kind of worked themselves into a position where they had been in pretty much every game that they played, bar the Dublin one, i.e., comfortable as hell with 15 minutes to go. And then they just allowed Cork. Cork outscored them. I think it was 1-6 to 1 point in the last 24 minutes. And then Ian Maguire's like, oh, snatches the draw. So for Derry, that was a real slap on the wrist of don't ever take your eye off the ball because the team can pull you back. And yeah, I feel like this one will be similar to the game in Celtic Park. I just think Dublin need to make sure that they do not take their foot off the gas this time.
Yeah, definitely. When you look at Dublin, actually, they've scored 110 points, as a matter of fact, 5 goals and 110 points. You look at they've conceded 7 goals and 74 points. Like when you look at their score, they've 22 different scores, including Mr. Mannion, who came back last Sunday, as well as we'll get out the clocks in a minute. But having Mannion back in the team, that's brilliant for Dublin. Definitely, Killian O'Gara won 5 as well. They've scores all over the field, did fairness in Dublin. So maybe, despite the doom and gloom throughout the league, like the fact that you have so many scores kind of shows that you're still bordering on okay.
Yeah, no, we're still moving pretty well in terms of going forward. Defense is where I'm more concerned. We look quite open at the back. I mean, Louth should have scored at least 3 goals against us in Croke Park. They hit the post. David O'Hanlon made a fantastic save, and then Liam Jackson got his goal. And that was against, a Louth side that is playing absolutely brilliantly right now. But to put it into context, 3 years ago, 3 years ago, Dublin just did the 6 in a row and Louth were in Division 4. So to see how even that game was for long periods was on top of how good Louth have got. There was also a clear regression in Dublin from where we once were. For this game is one hell of a test. Like it's one hell of a test. It's a Division 2 final, something which a lot of Dublin fans wouldn't have thought we'd be even in Division 2 a couple of years ago. But here we are, and we're not guaranteed to go up as champions because Derry looks so damn good right now. The one thing I will say though is last time Derry played in Croke Park, they got swept by Galway. Galway just had them figured out. So I think for Dublin, if they haven't been watching that Galway game and studying every detail from it, like, then I can't help you. They should be watching that game and looking at what Galway did, because if Derry come with the same setup, which they probably will, a very kind of, defensively sound, calculated attacks type of approach, which Rory Gallagher does wherever he goes. Dublin need to take a leaf out of Galway's book, watch what they did to box them in, keep them hemmed in their own half and keep the pressure on them. Because if you reduce it to a game of spraying the ball around, hanging on to the ball for 60 seconds and then taking a shot at the posts, Dublin are as good at doing that as any team in the country. So if you want to reduce it to that, perfect. So I feel like Derry potentially might need to have something up their sleeve going into this one.
Before we get on to Derry, your scores, your stats and everything, the thoughts of Stephen Cluxton coming back into the panel. Nobody expected it, and Paul Mangan coming back in as well. As Aaron said in the live stream on Sunday, the band's back together.
Yeah, I mean, I was absolutely delighted to see Mangan come on. Cluxton's a weird one because I fully thought he was gone. Like, I fully thought he was gone. I said it to Luke on one of our first episodes, actually, on Play on GA, when there was the whole isn't he retired fiasco. And I said, I think he's gone. When you look at Cluxton, he doesn't really like the limelight. He doesn't like the cameras. He doesn't like the fame that kind of comes with being one of the best Gaelic football players to have ever played the game. If you think about 2011, Cluxton slots over the winning point for Dublin to win their first All-Ireland in 16 years. And then he runs straight down the tunnel and completely avoids everyone for the rest of the day. Like, that's so when he left and he just quietly wasn't playing the next season, I said it on the pod, I said, I think he's gone. I think he's wanting to slip out the door without a big ceremonial retirement. Because if Cluxton had came out in 2021 and said, listen, I'm retired, I'm walking away, that would have been one of the biggest news stories at the time. Like, bear in mind, that was the height of the pandemic. Like, people didn't really have that much to talk about. So if Stephen Cluxton had retired, everyone would have been talking about it. People would have been doing legacy type podcast episodes where, Alec or Gail probably would have been, requested to be made of him. I feel like he wanted to kind of slip out the door. So I was stunned when I saw him, suited up and ready to go again. Like, 3 years later, like, so confusing. Like, his last game for Dublin was the All-Ireland final against Mayo in 2020. So sorry, 2 years and 4 months ago. So why he's decided to come back now is very interesting. Look, for David O'Hanlon and for Mick Shiel, for Evan Comerford, for Hugh O'Sullivan, just being around him can only be a good thing. He's literally, not only is he one of the best Gaelic football players of all time, he's one of the best professionals that's played the game. Like, no matter who Dublin were playing, he came correct, sharp, prepared, and ready to put in 100%. And for them to be around Cluxton can be only a good thing. Like, I would have said, if they're going to bring him in as a coach, that would be a genius move, because you can only get good things off a guy who was as good as Cluxton. But if he's coming back to compete for the number one spot, if he's coming back to step in and try and take the number one jersey, then I actually think it is a bad thing, because he's 41 years of age now. Like, how long is he realistically going to stick around for? And for David O'Hanlon, has been fantastic in the league campaign so far. You think about a save that he made against Brian Hurley, like, that was fantastic stop. His kickouts have been very good. On top of that, he's a very good free taker as well, if Dublin want to bring him up to take a few frees. And his confidence, he's kind of growing into the role. But if Cluxton comes back and Dublin just drop David O'Hanlon and put Cluxton back in for 1 year, then if Cluxton goes and retires next year, O'Hanlon won't be as confident coming into the position. Like, it will be in his brain somewhere that I'm only playing because Cluxton isn't here this year. Like, that type of energy. He feels like the number one now, and Dublin need to keep it that way.
It's an interesting point. Yeah, I always said to Aaron as well, like, if he's coming back to compete, it's probably a bad thing. Look at O'Hanlon. If you're going to drop him, it's going to be incredibly harsh. Like, you look at his kickouts, his save for Brian Hurley. Like, arguably, I said to Aaron the other day, and you agree with me as well, O'Hanlon has arguably been Dublin's best player of the league this season. He's been superb. Superb.
He has been very, very good. Yeah, Definitely, that would be a fair enough statement. I've been impressed with in flashes with the form of other players in the team. Like Brian Fenton has been good in certain games. Kieran Kilkenny the same. But yeah, probably O'Hanlon. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd probably go with O'Hanlon as well. And he's been absolutely outstanding. But a bit of a word on Derry. Like, interesting enough, like they've conceded 3 goals, 60 points, but only 1 goal they've conceded in the first half of games. That was against Louth. The other 2 they conceded against Meath and against Cork. Cork in the 8th minute of stoppage time.
And Meath, the game was over.
Yeah, exactly. So like it's a situation where Derry, they don't concede much goals. They don't concede earlier on. Maybe at the end if you catch them. And even against Galway in that semi-final, they conceded no goals in the first half. They neither. So
yeah, no, Derry have. I'm confident saying this. I fully believe player for player as well. Not even just the system. I fully believe man for man, player for player, Derry's defense is the best in the country. I fully believe if you're going to have a defense of Chrissy McKay, Brendan Rodgers, Owen McAvoy there, fullback, is a superb prospect as well. Conor McCluskey, Garrett McKinless is ridiculously good. Then you have, the likes of Conor Doherty, who's always good for a few scores. Like, they're super, super strong at the back there, Derry.
Yeah, they are. And they're super strong up front as well because they have the second, I think it's the second top scorer in the whole, or the third top scorer in the whole National League, the top scorer in the top 2 divisions. Shane McGuigan, 2 goals and 36 points and 119 for free. So that would take it to 117 for play in Division 2. That is impressive. And I've said it before, Shane McGuigan's probably one of the most underrated forwards in the country. Look at Niall Toner adding to their foray of talent as well with 3 goals and 8 points for play. And again, like Sean Quigley, he gets crucial goals at crucial time. Case in point, the goal against Dublin, the goal against Louth. So, like, Doherty as well won 11, Paul Cassidy 11 points. So they're the main men for Derry, but can Dublin stop those guys?
Yeah, I think they can. We stopped them in the first half of the first game. Up until we just completely took our eye off the ball, as I said. Like McGuigan, you're absolutely right. He's been doing it for Derry since he came into the senior side. Like, you remember they were in Division 4 in that final against Leitrim. Shane McGuigan's performance in that final was fantastic. He absolutely was superb. And since then they've just gone strength to strength, and he's been definitely maybe a little bit of a statement to say, but he's been there forward, if that makes sense. Like, he's been basically what Colin McFadden was to Jim McGuinness with Donegal. Like, he's been their guy that just, I'd say Conor Glass is like their Michael Murphy, and Shane McGuigan's like their Colin McFadden. Always good for a few scores in every game that he plays, and I think he's been brilliant since they brought him in. Dublin need to go at him the same way they went at him in the first game. That's pretty much it. The answer is in Dublin's hands. Do what you did in the first game, but do it for longer this time. Do not let Derry pick up the pace in the second half. Strangle the game, finish it off. Do not let Derry come back the way they did in the second half of the last game. And if they do, like, we can't help ourselves if we make the same mistake twice. I mean, we need to make sure that Derry do not get a quick start on us, that they do not get in charge of the game, because that's what Derry have done in every other game that they've played. They've gotten in charge of the game bright and early, and then they've pretty much played it on their terms. I mean, the toughest one to watch for me was either the Clare game or the Meath game. Like, they were tough to watch. They were just like pure domination. Whereas for Dublin, we absolutely were all over them in the first half, and then we just took our foot off the gas. It was like an Uno reverse of what Derry usually do.
And just as a side note, before we get a prediction on this game, do you think the Cork results, I know Derry drew the game, they lost their 100% record, but do you think the Cork results will have any effect on Derry going to Croke Park?
No, I don't think so. I think it will annoy Rory Gallagher, because I know he would have wanted that swish of 7 out of 7 back up to Division 1. I know he would have wanted that. So the way that they were caught at the end will have irritated him. But in terms of how they go into the Division 2 final, I don't think it will bother them too much.
Yeah, probably won't either. That gave us a brilliant end to the game. Like, I think Derry were actually 8 points in front. 130 8 points
with 24 minutes to go.
Yeah.
And they just threw it away.
Yeah. It's unbelievable, really. And he had Conor Glass on the field at the end as well. But yeah, but do you think Dublin, if they could repeat the dose, that's the big thing, a big if, do you think that'll be enough to get them over the line?
Yes. I think if we can repeat what we did in the first half and just do it for not even the entire second half, just keep it going until the 60th minute, then I think we should be okay. But do not take your foot off the gas. Do not let Derry build up a bit of momentum. I think the fact it's in Croke Park is a massive significance as well, because look at what happened last year. Kildare beat Dublin and Newbridge. What happened when Kildare came to Croke Park to play us in the championship? I know it's Kildare, it's not Derry. But at the same time, sorry, Croke Park is a different pitch. It's way more open. It's way more expansive. It is more difficult to put in that, absolute watertight defensive system. And when, Derry played against Galway, as I said, they got swept. Galway figured them out, boxed them in. Derry couldn't get out. And then when they had to come for the game, because they were going out, they came at it in a really weird way where they didn't really look like they knew what they were doing going forward. They ended up with Oran Lynch just kind of running out of the goal and just firing the ball forward, hoping for the best, and ended up with Damien Comer scoring that mental goal where he kicked it from pretty much the halfway line into an empty net. And that's what Dublin need to look at. They need to look at what did Galway do well in that game, and then what did Dublin do well in the game in Owen Beg, and try and make a blend of the two. And I think if they do that, absolutely Dublin will win this game. But if we play like we did against Louth, we're going to lose.
Yeah, it's an interesting point. I just think, I'm going to go for Dublin as well. I think they should get back up the horse. It's only a matter of time before.
Be a very interesting game to watch, though. Like out of all the games in the weekend, this is the one I'm the most interested in. And it's not just because I'm from Dublin. I think purely as a neutral, if you're watching this game, this is the one you should be most interested in. Because if Derry beat Dublin, what does that say about Derry? Does that say that they're all Ireland contenders? What does that say about Dublin? Are they not all Ireland contenders anymore? But if Dublin go and mop the floor with Derry, then they are ready for another crack at the All Ireland in my mind.
Yeah, I'll definitely agree with you. I'm going to say like Dublin because it's only a matter of time before they kick it the gear, and maybe it'll be this weekend. And the final game is the Division 1 final between Mayo and Galway. Connacht rivals, 4 o'clock on TG Car on Sunday in Croke Park. This is an interesting game because, like the 3 finals we mentioned previously, there's sides that want to win that elusive crown. For Mayo and Galway, and I said this to Aaron before as well, there's kind of an element here that both these will be shadowboxing, considering all going well in 2 or 3 weeks, both sides will be at it again in the Connacht Championship. So, like, what do you think of this game? It's a bit of a weird one to call.
It is, because it's one of those things where who is going to take it more seriously? I think both teams will want to win. I think both teams will say, look, we're here now, we're in a national final, why not go win it? But as you said, if you win this and you don't end up with the Connacht crown, you kind of feel like you didn't really win anything. Like Waterford last year in the hurling league, won the hurling league, looked great, then got slapped up in Munster and knocked out. And it kind of is like you forget very quickly about the league success if you get knocked out of the provincial championship. I think one key factor going into this game is the last time Mayo and Galway played each other in Croke Park, Mayo beat them. And I think that is something that maybe is in the heads of both of the teams going into this one.
Yeah, and when you look at Galway's defence actually this year, it's interesting because Pádraig Joyce, the manager, and they haven't been overly defensive since Kevin Walsh, but they have one of the best defensive records in the whole National League, conceding a total of only 372. Like that's incredible for them. And when you look at Bernard Power making that brilliant save from Paddy Clifford at the end against Kerry, Mayo have done pretty well as well, attack-wise, scoring 9 goals and 99 points. So it's a situation where one of the best attacks of the league will be coming up against one of the best defences, and for that reason, it'll be intriguing.
Yeah, no doubt. And you look at Bernard Power, fantastic save from Shawnee O'Shea there right at the end against Kerry, and he's got a boomer of a kick out on him as well. Like he can kick the ball some distance, and you're thinking like Conor Gleeson, in my opinion, last season, it's so harsh to say, but you look at the Armagh game, Conor Gleeson could not handle a high ball being kicked in on top of him. It'd be interesting to see how Bernard Power is with that, because if Bernard Power comes out and claims the high ball, I feel like Galway have to go with him, because there's a clear blueprint there so far on how to get at Conor Gleeson there. And if Bernard Power is more than comfortable dealing with it, then I feel like Joyce sadly has to go with that.
Yeah, definitely. When you look at actually an interesting stat that just popped there, Galway have scored a total of 675 in their league games, while Mayo have conceded 7 goals and 81 points. So Mayo have conceded more than Galway have scored. So is that going to be an opportunity there with Shane Walsh coming back, Finnerty, Comer, to show what they're made of, and maybe a situation where they're just easing themselves into the league and then boom.
Well, that's what I mean. Mayo have kind of played a real rock and roll style football since McStay has come in. Every game that they've played has been entertaining. That means if you want to play entertaining football, that means scoring a lot and conceding a lot. You can't really play like an exciting brand of football without leaving yourselves open at the back. And Mayo haven't really struck me so far as being a team that is defensively number one as their priority. Like if you're putting like their centre half backs this year so far have been Conor Loftus and Jason Doherty. Like that's not exactly you know what I mean? That's not exactly throwing Conor Gormley back there or Kieran McGeeney or Carl Lacey. Like that's throwing in 2 lads that are forwards like into centre half back and saying like we're going to play attacking football from the half back line. So they were always going to concede lots. But what is good for Mayo is that they're scoring lots. Like the form of Aidan O'Shea has been really impressive so far. Ryan O'Donoghue. And then they've got Tommy Conroy back in. Like Killian O'Connor as well looks pretty good. And the form of James Carr, he's a problem for this Galway team. If he gets going, you remember the goal he got against them in 2019? Like that's what this guy is capable of. Yeah, for me, it's just which attack fires better. I think there's definitely gaps to get at there in that Mayo defence for Galway. And Galway could blow Mayo away in this game, like they really could. If Mayo, have an off day down the other end. Because I think both teams, to give my honest opinion, I think both teams will score plenty in this game. I think we're looking at a high scoring tally in this one. I don't think Galway will be too defensive in this game. They'll be more defensive than Mayo for sure. You'll have John Daly sweeping across. But I think we'll see a high scoring tally in this game for both sides, and it's just which forward line fires better.
And James Carr as well scored that brilliant goal early on in the league as well. So 2 crackers against Galway as well. So he's definitely
doesn't do ordinary ones.
Yeah, he doesn't do ordinary goals at all.
Maybe 1-on-1 with the goalkeeper and you try rainbow flick it over his head or something like it. He's that type of fella where it's top corner or nothing.
Yeah, some player. And you look at Jordan. You look at Jordan Flynn as well, 11 points. Killian O'Connor, 11 points. Brian O'Donoghue with 2 goals and 23 points. I think he's the second top scorer Division 1 behind Darren McCurry. You look at Aidan O'Shea's form with 1-6. That midfield partnership is intrigued me though for Mayo with Dermot O'Connor and Matthew Ruan. Both of them athletic, both of them working hard, and both of them able to cast a high ball as well. So I think that midfield partnership is definitely working for Mayo in the league campaign. It's definitely driving on Kevin McStay's side.
Without doubt, and you look at the fact that they have the likes of Jack Carney, Jordan Flynn, giving a hand there as well. Jordan Flynn is one that has hugely impressed me in this league campaign. He's starting to look like one of the leaders of this Mayo team. Every game that they play, Jordan Flynn pops up with 2 or 3 points, and always big points, always crucial points. So his performance in this game will be absolutely crucial as well, because Galway are so strong around the middle. You look at, you throw it back to Galway, Killian McDade, Paul Conroy, Peter Cook, Matthew Tierney. Like they're so strong around the midfield. So that battle is going to be fascinating to watch. It'd be interesting to see if Mayo bring Aidan O'Shea out.
It'd be interesting as well if Galway actually play Killian McDade, because last game they played John Maher alongside Paul Conroy. To be fair to them, did very well. Johnny Heaney's doing well at the moment. Robert Finnerty, despite his injury troubles, has still managed to score 7 points for play. But Matthew Tierney has been the outstanding player for Galway in this league campaign. 3 goals, 14 points, 3 goals, and I think it's 3 goals and 8 points for play. So that's an incredible record for a guy that was going in under the radar last season with the likes of Finnerty, Comer, and Walsh in the team. But when you have another ace in your deck, like that's only going to help Galway in the long run.
Yeah, and I'd like to throw in another name there, Tom O'Callaghan. He's starting to break through now, and those 2 lads were absolutely crucial to Galway's All-Ireland under-20 triumph there a couple of years ago. So those 2 lads breaking through and, starting to stamp their name on the Galway forward line with the same time as Shane Walsh, Damien Comer. It's only a good thing for Galway. And then you have the likes of Ian Burke back in the team, like All-Star of 2018. Galway's depth now is really, really vastly improved. And I feel like they're going to flex that in its entirety now across this championship.
Yeah. It's going to be a very interesting game, all right. But if you were to call it, who do you think will win, and will both teams take it seriously or just one?
I think both teams will take it seriously. I think McStay will want to win to, get a championship in his first year as Mayo boss, and Park Joyce will want to win because it's been since 1981 since Galway have won the Division 1 title, which is just unacceptable for a county as big as Galway and as good as Galway have been. Like, it's mad that the team of Park Joyce, Michael Donnellan, Kevin Walsh, Sean O'Dwyer, Declan Meehan, it's mad that they didn't win it. Like, Jaff Allen as well. It's mad that they didn't win it. So, yeah, I feel like Joyce will want to rectify that. He didn't win it as a player. He will want to win it as a coach.
Yeah, I'd actually go for Galway as well, because to throw into the fact for Mayo, we see a potential semi-final with Galway, but the week after the league final, they play Roscommon, which will be previewed obviously in the podcast next week.
Mm-hmm.
That should be an interesting game. And Roscommon are no easy pushovers. Obviously, third in Division 1. And maybe a final question on Division 1 in general. Top three sides in Connacht are Connacht sides. And when you look at the narrative over the last few years, the Ulster Championship is the best championship in the country. Is there an argument that Connacht is up there as well?
There is an argument that Connacht is up there. I don't think the quality, okay, might get hate for this, but I don't think the quality in Ulster is what it was a few years ago. I feel like the standard has kind of come down a little bit. Like, Ulster used to dominate Division 1. There was only Ulster teams. Two Ulster teams got relegated this year. And the two teams that survived on the final day the two teams that survived going down were Monaghan and Tyrone. So it was all Ulster teams in that relegation battle from Division 1. Like, I can't talk. We got relegated last year, but like, it was one of the things that, like, Donegal and Armagh have gone down, and honestly, the way Donegal are, I don't think they're going back up next year unless they get, an inspirational managerial appointment in. But yeah, I think it's not as strong as it used to be, but it will rebound for sure. You look at the likes of, Rory Canavan, like the players that are coming through for Tyrone, Rory Canavan, Rory Canavan, Michael McGleenan, and then you look on, Monaghan, the likes of Sean Jones, David Garland, these lads breaking through. The standard will go back up again for sure.
And worth noting as well, there's 4 sides from Ulster Division 2 next season, so that's a total of 7 sides out of 9 in the top 2 divisions. Only Antrim and Down are in the bottom 2 divisions at this present moment in time. So it should be interesting to see how it develops in the next number of years or so. So yeah, looking forward to the final.
Yeah, no. So just but like, I'm going Galway by 3. That's my official prediction. Galway by 3.
Yeah, I'd probably go Galway by about 1 or 2, something like that. Anyway, so
I say like 214 to 114 or something like that.
Yeah. Something like that. Maybe it could be a defensive game, considering Galway have been, utter defensive throughout the league campaign, but we'll have to wait and see on Sunday. Appreciate your time, Seamus, for coming onto the podcast. And if anybody wants to check Play On GAA, where can we find you?
Yeah, just under the mantle, Play On GAA across any social media platform, across Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, anything, we're there. Thank you again, Matthew.
Yeah, thanks very much, Seamus. And of course, if you want to get some stuff on 40favorites.ie, use the code Statsman11 to get 11% off your order throughout the next few weeks or so to get the best gym equipment around. Thanks, Seamus, for coming on, and I'll see all the viewers and listeners in the next episode.